I came home early with lemon pie and flowers, grinning like a man in a love story. But the song playing inside wasn't a welcome, it was a warning. One glance was all it took. My world tilted, my future cracked, and the man I'd been quietly stepped aside, making room for the man I was about to become. It's funny the little things you remember from the day your world tilts on its axis. The brand of flowers you picked up from the corner shop, the way the lemon pie box felt just a little warm against your palm, the exact verse of your wedding song playing on repeat in your car like some kind of twisted background score. I remember the smell of the bakery, the chill of the steering wheel, and the way the key slid so smoothly into the front door, like it was excited to help me surprise her. I was grinning, man. Full-on, wide-eyed, optimistic grin, like a fool in a Hallmark commercial. That morning flight had landed early, and all I could think about was seeing her face when she saw me standing there. A day ahead of schedule, flowers in one hand, her favorite dessert in the other. I thought maybe we'd laugh, maybe dance a little in the kitchen like we used to before the bills and the meetings and the grown-up weight of married life dulled the spark. I thought I'd be the one doing the surprising. Turns out I was the one getting surprised. The door creaked open, and the first thing I noticed wasn't her. It wasn't him either. It was the song. Our song. The one we danced to at our wedding, playing softly from the Bluetooth speaker like a ghost trying to warn me. Then came the laughter. His deep and comfortable, hers lighter than I'd heard in months. It echoed through the hallway like it belonged there, like it had roots in our home. I stepped forward, slowly, past the framed photos of vacations and anniversaries that now felt staged. And there they were, in the living room under the soft glow of our lamp, swaying together like this was some rom-com finale. She was wearing my shirt, the one I left hanging on the back of the chair that morning, and he had my wine in his hand like he'd poured it himself after rummaging through my cabinets. He looked settled, like this wasn't the first time. And then she saw me. No scream, no panic, just a look, calm, almost annoyed, like I'd walked in on her rearranging the furniture, not dancing with another man in my shirt in my house. She tilted her head, whispered like she was explaining a parking ticket. I was going to tell you. That was it. No tears. No apologies. Just those 5 words and the realization that I'd been living in someone else's story without knowing it. I placed the keys on the hallway table. No dramatic toss, just gently, like setting down the final piece in a puzzle I didn't like. I didn't yell, didn't beg, didn't even blink. I just walked out. That night I made 3 calls. First to my lawyer, second to a realtor, and third to the guy who ran the moving truck company. By sunrise, the papers were in motion. House listed, divorce filed, lemon pie in the trash. And my life, well, that part was about to begin again. The thing nobody tells you about heartbreak is how eerily quiet it gets after the noise stops. After the lawyers finish talking, after the furniture is divided and the last of your clothes is stuffed into black garbage bags like they're biohazard material, after the texts from mutual friends dry up because they don't want to take sides, but somehow always end up at her dinner parties. It's not anger that gets you. It's the silence. I moved into a 1-bedroom apartment with more echoes than furniture. The kind of place where the fridge hummed louder than your thoughts, and the ceiling fan sounded like it was sighing at you. I slept on an air mattress for the first month. Not because I couldn't afford a bed, but because something about that cheap plastic creak matched my mood. It was temporary, just like everything else. I'd wake up before the sun, not because I was driven or motivated, but because sleep didn't feel like a safe place anymore. And every morning, without fail, I'd remember the look on her face. Not guilty, not ashamed, just inconvenienced, like I'd interrupted a brunch reservation. First, I kept checking my phone. Some part of me, the part that still believed in fairy tales and good people, thought maybe she'd reach out, maybe explain, maybe apologize. She didn't. Instead, I got bills, papers to sign, division of assets, which felt less like splitting a life and more like untangling Christmas lights from a dead tree. She kept the house. I let her. I didn't want to live in a place where the walls remembered everything I was trying to forget. But here's the strange part. The moment I stopped hoping for a text, the moment I let the silence settle in and stopped trying to fill it with distractions, that's when the idea hit me. I'd always talked about starting my own business. Told her about it once over dinner. An app idea I had. Something simple but useful. She smiled that polite smile. The one people give you when they're already bored but trying to seem supportive. Said it was cute. Like a child's finger painting. Well, I wasn't painting with crayons anymore. I dusted off my old notebooks, scribbled out a business plan on the back of a pizza receipt, and started coding like a man possessed. Days blurred into nights, and I ran on nothing but coffee, spite, and the memory of her voice saying, "I was going to tell you." And that business caught fire. First it paid for a rail bed, then a better apartment, then an office space with my name on the lease. By year 2, I had employees, investors, and a waiting list longer than her wine bill. Every dollar I made felt like a step away from her, and I took those steps gladly. People started calling me lucky. Funny how they always do that after you bleed for something. 3 years later, I was a millionaire. But money wasn't the win. The win came the day I met her, the woman who'd change everything again. But this time for the better. She didn't walk into my life like a movie scene. No spilled coffee. No slow-motion turn with hair catching the sunlight just right. No. She strolled into the co-working space I just started leasing, carrying a tote bag full of sketches and an iced tea that kept sweating through the paper sleeve. She was pitching branding packages to new startups, and I was too busy with server crashes and beta testing to notice her the first few days. But on the 4th day, she sat across from me and asked if I knew the Wi-Fi password. That's it. No lightning bolt, no soundtrack. Just a simple question. And for the first time in months, I smiled. Not the forced kind I used at investor meetings or the polite version I offered baristas. A real smile. One that surprised even me. Her name was Anna. She had this way of talking with her hands like she was sculpting her sentences in the air. And her laugh, it didn't ask permission to exist, it just came out big and loud and honest. She wasn't polished like my ex. She didn't wear lipstick like armor or drop buzzwords like confetti. She wore old jeans and ponytails and smelled like lemon and ink. And she listened. Really listened. Not the passive, nodding kind of listening you give when you're waiting for your turn to speak. No. She took your words, turned them over like stones, and handed them back to you with warmth. Like they mattered. I didn't fall for her all at once. I was too broken for that. Too cautious. But I noticed the way she talked about her brother like he was a hero, the way she lit up when she showed me her sketchpad, the way she apologized when she yawned like being tired was rude. We started working late together. She'd bring snacks, sunflower seeds, trail mix, weird organic cookies that tasted like cardboard salvation, and we'd swap war stories about stubborn clients and botched deadlines. I told her about my app, about the long nights and failed attempts, and she listened like it was poetry. And she never asked about my ex. Not once. Which made me want to tell her everything. One night, long after the cleaning crew had left and the vending machine lights were the only things glowing, I told her. About the lemon pie. About the shirt. About the music. About walking out of the only life I'd known and into the arms of uncertainty. She didn't gasp. Didn't judge. She just reached over, squeezed my hand, and said, "That's a hard chapter, but it's not your whole book." I didn't kiss her that night. I wanted to, sure, but I didn't. I just sat there holding her hand, realizing that maybe, just maybe, someone saw me. Not for what I'd been through, but for who I was becoming. It took a few more months, a few awkward attempts at flirting, a few shared meals, and one rainy afternoon walk where I offered her my jacket and she said, "I'm not a rom-com girl," and took it anyway. Then one day she kissed me, and this time I didn't think about my ex. I didn't hear our wedding song in my head. I didn't wonder if it was too soon. I just kissed her back. There's something sacred about building a home from scratch. Not with bricks and mortar, though we'd end up doing a little of that too, but with late-night conversations, mismatched coffee mugs, and the kind of honesty that scrapes you raw in all the right ways. Anna moved in on a Tuesday, a little earlier than we'd planned. Her lease had ended, and mine was month to month. It made sense even if my therapist, well, my ex-therapist, would have raised a concerned eyebrow. We bought a couch together. Nothing fancy, just something comfortable and big enough for two people who like to sprawl with books and bare feet. She picked the color. I picked the fabric. Compromise, she called it. Teamwork, I thought. And slowly we built this thing. This life. I stopped waking up in cold sweats thinking about that living room scene. My ex in my shirt, her guest in my glass. Instead, I started waking up to the smell of cinnamon and coffee and the sound of Anna singing off-key in the shower. We hung our first picture together. A sketch of a bird she'd done in college. She said it reminded her to keep going. I said it looked like freedom. We didn't talk much about the past. Not because it didn't matter, but because it didn't define us. But every now and then, a ghost would drift through. Like the first time Anna caught me flinching when her phone buzzed after midnight. Or the time I found her scrolling through apartments, just to look, and felt a lump of panic I couldn't explain. But she always noticed, always asked, always stayed. And one night, over takeout and wine, I told her everything. Not just the headlines, the wedding song and the keys on the table, but the small humiliations. The way my ex had whispered like I was an inconvenience. The way she'd worn my shirt like a trophy. The way her eyes had held no fear, no love, no regret. Anna listened with that same stillness she always had. And when I finished, she leaned in, kissed my forehead and said, "That woman was blind. It didn't fix everything, but it helped." A year passed like that, in peace, in growth, in the kind of love that doesn't demand fireworks but shows up every day with a cup of tea and a listening ear. And then we got married. No big ceremony. Just a small backyard gathering, string lights, and vows we wrote ourselves. I didn't cry when I said mine, but my voice cracked a little when I told her that for the first time in my life. I felt chosen. Not as an option. Not as a backup. Chosen. She cried. And then laughed because the dog stole her shoe halfway through the ceremony. And later that year our son was born. Then our daughter. 2 little whirlwinds with her eyes and my stubbornness. They filled our lives with chaos, noise, sticky fingers, and joy so sharp it hurt sometimes. And every night, when I came home from work, I was greeted with little feet running toward the door, arms outstretched, voices shouting, "Daddy!" Like I was the hero of their world. Because to them I was. And for the first time in a long time, I started to believe it too. It was a Tuesday. Strange how the worst things always seem to happen on perfectly ordinary days. The kind where the biggest plan is grilling burgers or folding laundry. I was pulling into the driveway, still humming that ridiculous jingle from the kids' favorite cartoon, when I saw the missed call. No name, just a number I hadn't dialed in years, the kind of number you delete more out of ceremony than hope. I didn't answer, just stood there in the driveway, one hand on the car door, heart ticking like a faulty watch. Then the voicemail came through, barely a few seconds long. Her voice, my ex, soft, deliberate, like she knew exactly what she was doing. "Hey, I was thinking about us. I miss us." That was it. Not even a full sentence. Just a breadcrumb tossed across years of silence. I didn't play it twice. Instead, I walked inside to find my daughter building a tower out of cereal boxes and my son trying to teach the dog how to sit with a cookie. Anna looked up from the kitchen, hair messy, apron smudged with flour, and smiled like I was the best part of her day. And just like that, the past lost its power. Still, something inside me itched. Not fear, not anger. Just the kind of curiosity that comes when a book you thought was closed suddenly falls off the shelf. Later that night, after the kids were asleep and Anna had drifted off with a half-finished book on her chest, I sat on the porch and called the number back. She answered on the first ring. Of course she did. "Hi," she said. I didn't say anything right away. Just listened to the hum of her world in the background. I could picture it. Probably a new place, different throw pillows, same old wine. Maybe a guy or two who came and went. Maybe none at all. Didn't matter. "You called me," I said eventually. "I know. I probably shouldn't have." "Then why did you?" There was a pause and then, "I saw a photo of you. Online. The article about your company. You looked happy." "I am. I thought about calling 100 times before, but today I did. And now," another pause. "Now I'm just wondering if there's still an US." I looked out over the yard. The swing I'd hung with my own 2 hands creaked in the breeze. The house behind me glowed with the warmth of people who loved me. "There's no us," I said. "Not anymore." Silence. Then, "I made mistakes." "So did I replied. "But I learned from mine. I miss how things used to be." I shook my head, though she couldn't see it. "No, you miss what you thought I was. A man who wouldn't walk away. A man who'd stick around even when he saw the truth. But that man's gone." She didn't argue, didn't cry. Maybe she'd expected a different version of me. The one who used to bring her flowers and lemon pie. The one who used to think silence was strength. "I hope you're happy," she said finally. "I am," I said. "And I hope you find something real someday. Not someone to dance with while the world burns behind you. Someone who makes you want to be better." I hung up before she could say anything else. I went back inside, kissed my wife on the forehead, and checked the locks on the doors. Not because I was afraid of anything getting in. Because I was grateful for everything I'd kept out. You'd think that after a call like that, after the ghost of your past knocks once, gets no answer and walks away, it'd be over. Like closing the final chapter of a book you never meant to reread. But the thing about memory is it doesn't always follow rules. It lingers, especially on quiet mornings when the coffee's brewing and the house is still asleep. A week after that call, I found myself flipping through an old box I'd long forgotten in the back of the closet. The kind of box every man has but never talks about. Photos, receipts, a napkin with a lipstick stain from a night that had felt important at the time. And there, at the bottom, was a wedding invitation with our names printed in gold, still pressed between the pages of a leather-bound photo album. I held it for a minute, not out of nostalgia, not to feel something, just to remind myself of how far I'd come. You see, healing isn't this big moment where everything clicks and the pain packs its bags. No, it's subtle. It's realizing you no longer flinch when her name comes up. It's walking past the flower shop and not thinking about lemon pie. It's sitting at the piano with your daughter and playing a tune that used to haunt you, and realizing it's just a song again. One night, Anna caught me staring into space, holding that invitation like it was radioactive. She didn't say anything, just walked over, sat beside me, and rested her head on my shoulder. "You okay?" she asked. "Yeah," I said, just remembering who I used to be. "And he needed this, all of it." She nodded. "You're not him anymore." "No," I said, "but I'm grateful he got me here. That's the thing. I don't hate my ex. I don't wish her harm. I don't fantasize about revenge or karma or dramatic payback scenes. I wish her clarity. I wish her peace. Because in the end, her betrayal broke me just enough to build a better version of myself. One that knew how to walk away. One that knew what real love felt like when it came knocking. And every morning now, when I walk down the hall and hear the pitter-patter of little feet and the squeal of Daddy, before I even reach the kitchen, I thank God I didn't settle for a hollow smile in a house full of lies. I chose the storm. I chose to rebuild. And this is the reward. Some men get their lessons loud. A bar fight, a bankruptcy, a night in the drunk tank with a head full of regret. Mine came in the form of 5 words whispered from a woman I thought I knew. "I was going to tell you." That's what stuck with me all these years. Not the betrayal. Not the way she danced in my shirt with another man in our living room while our wedding song played. Not even the quiet way she watched me leave. It was the calm of it. Like what she did wasn't a mistake, but a scheduling conflict. I've replayed that moment more times than I care to admit. But every time it ends the same, me walking away. Not fighting, not yelling, just letting go. And that, my friend, became my superpower. You see, walking away wasn't weakness. It was strength. The kind I didn't know I had. The kind that gets tested when your pride is bruised and your heart's bleeding, but you still find the grace to place the keys on the table instead of throwing them through a wall. It's been 3 years since that night. 3 years since I left behind a house that wasn't a home. A woman who wore love like a costume. And a future that would have kept me half alive. And in that time, I didn't just rebuild, I redesigned. I built a business, yes. Made more money than I ever thought I would. But that's not the story. The story is how I built trust again, not in people but in myself. In my ability to rise, to love, to start over without carrying bitterness like a badge. And now I come home to a wife who meets me at the door with flour on her face and love in her eyes. Kids who jump on me like I'm a jungle gym, not just a paycheck. A life that feels like mine because it was forged, not gifted. Earned, not inherited. People ask me sometimes if I ever hear from my ex, and I tell them the truth. Once, she called, said she missed us. I told her there is no us, just a memory, and a lesson. That's all it ever was, and I've never been more grateful for it.